My name is Guy, G-H-I-S. I used to call myself Ghislaine Lanctot. I was a medical doctor for 25 years until I found out what the medical system was all about. And I wrote a book entitled The Medical Mafia. The medical system is sick everywhere, it doesn't work. Everybody's unhappy with it. The patients are unhappy, the government is unhappy, it's too expensive. The doctors, physicians are unhappy, everybody's unhappy with the system, but it still goes on. So why does it still go on? Somebody must be happy with it. And yes, big money, big pharma is happy with the system. And should it be then that they control it? Yes, they control it from A to Z. You have to know that medical schools, all the media, even the medical journals, the newspapers, the television, radio, are totally controlled by big money. At the beginning of the previous century, in the early 19s, the alternative medicine, natural medicine, was the most important one. There was doctors were practicing, were touching the patients, were questioning the patients, were healing them with herbs, with all sorts of natural stuff. And all this disappeared with the Flexner report.
In 1907, the AMA, American Medical Association, involved the Carnegie Foundation in elaborating a book-length study of medical education in the United States and Canada, also known as the Carnegie Foundation Bulletin No. 4. The author, Abraham Flexner, was an ambitious educator, neither a physician nor a medical scientist, but the brother of Simon Flexner, employed by the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research. Later on, Abraham Flexner became the first director of the Rockefeller philanthropy programs in medical education. Andrew Carnegie was regarded as the second richest man in history after John D. Rockefeller. While Carnegie played a leading role in the American steel industry and education, Rockefeller was interested in oil industry and medical research. Abraham Flexner's report was published in 1910, and the purpose was to improve the quality of medical service by establishing professional medical education based on mainstream scientific principles. But what was accepted as science in the early 20th century? The theory of materialism, rising in the 17th century, holds that the only existing thing is matter. Everything is composed of material, and all phenomena, including consciousness, human soul and spirit, are the results of material interactions. In other words, matter is the only substance. Scientific materialism, physicalism, became the philosophical position of the early 20th century. The main statement of physicalism is that there are no kinds of things other than physical things. When a hypothesis is repeated long enough, it often becomes a fundamental rule of life. It is assumed to be true. Before the Flexner report was released, twice as many physicians practiced alternative medicine than conventional allopathic medicine, and medical knowledge was taught in small private schools all over the USA. The report changed everything, and backed by the police power of each American state, medical schools were obliged to follow the trend set by the Carnegie Foundation. The human body belongs to the animal world. It is put together of tissues and organs. It grows, reproduces itself, decays according to general laws. It is liable to attack hostile physical and biological agencies. Herbs, homeopathy, chiropractic and massage were demoted as quackery. Small medical schools were either closed or merged into universities financially supported by industrial companies. In less than 10 years, the number of medical schools dropped from 650 to 50. The number of medical students decreased from 7,500 to 2,500, as they were unable to afford the high education fees. The report included a detailed regulation of medical education and pharmacology as the only solution against dreadful diseases. According to the present-day consequences of the report, no medical school can be created without the permission of government, and medical research adheres fully to the protocols of scientific research. Of the 1910s, materialism, medication and vaccination. Supply of physicians were restricted, incomes of the remaining practitioners raised, and conventional medical schools began to be centralised. In 1997, the WHO obtained full control over medicine as the validity of the Flexner Report was extended worldwide. And what was the long-term result of reforming the medical education and practice? Hardly any news in the media. According to the 2003 medical report, Death by Medicine, 783,936 people in the United States die every year from conventional medical mistakes. This is 16,400% of the victims of September 11, 2001, equivalent to 6 jumbo jet crashes a day for an entire year. 106,000 of the nearly 800,000 cases are from prescription drugs. The United States spends $282 billion annually on deaths due to medical mistakes, or iatrogenic deaths. According to a 1995 US iatrogenic report, the annual automobile accident mortality rate is 45,000. On the other hand, annually, over 1 million patients get injured in hospitals, and 280,000 of these cases result in death. In 2004, the USA spent $1.4 trillion, 15.5% of the GDP, on healthcare. More than 1/3 was paid to the pharmaceutical industry. After 100 years, we must raise the question, what went wrong? Despite the huge amount of money accumulated in the pharmaceutical industry, there are more dreadful diseases and sick people today than ever. You will find the answers in the Flexner Report, a documentation that created and enabled the terms of a centralised medical system and pharma industry to take over control.
I will tell you about my experience, my personal experience as a doctor. When I was in medical school, I didn't know all of this I'm telling you today. And I thought that medicine was the state of the art. I was so convinced. And I was in medical school in the 1965, from 60 to 65, 66. I was convinced that by the end of the century, there would be no more disease. So I really believed in medicine. When I came out, I practiced medicine. I was in specialty, but I practiced medicine. But slowly, I started seeing things that did not make sense. So I questioned. You see, we have to question what we see. If it does not make sense, stop doing it. Stop believing it. You see people, they get chemotherapy. They get so sick with the treatment. I mean, question it. Go and see what's beyond it. What's beyond chemotherapy? Poisons. Well, how can you help people with poisons?
When you give chemotherapy drugs to a healthy person, what's going to happen to them? It's going to make them sick. It's a very toxic poison. It destroys and damages a lot of cells in your body. So how do we think then that we can give those same toxic poisonous drugs that would make a healthy person sick, give them to a sick person and make them healthy? That doesn't make any sense at all.
400 years ago, doctors attempted to treat cancer with heavy metals. Those experiments were unsuccessful and finally ended up in the toxication of the patients. Today, there are 3 common ways to treat cancer symptoms: surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy. Chemotherapy refers to cytotoxic agents applied as cancer treatment. Many drugs are found accidentally, and it is said it was the same with cytotoxic agents. In World War I, nitrogen mustard was used as a biochemical weapon, and it was observed that soldiers being exposed to the gas developed leukopenia and lymphoid suppression. According to documents of the University of Iowa, nitrogen mustard is a chemotherapeutic agent still in use, even though there is absolutely no scientific evidence for its ability to extend in any appreciable way the lives of patients suffering from cancer. The theory behind applying cytotoxic agents, toxic materials that interfere with the life cycle of cells, to fight cancer, is that chemo indiscriminately kills rapidly dividing cells, both cancerous and normal. Beside cancer cells, the most rapidly dividing cells are stem cells, gamete, bone marrow, hair follicles, mucosa of the mouth and gastrointestinal tract. This explains the reason why many people undertaking chemotherapy lose their hair, become infertile, or get mouth and throat sores. The mortality rate of patients treated with chemo is 96%. Conventional medicine has many hypotheses about the causes of cancer. None of them have been proved, and all of them are limited to the mainstream trend of science, materialism, excluding the human soul. Chemotherapy is a treatment of symptoms, and patients are dying of it or suffering from its severe side effects. Chemotherapeutic agents applied to treat cancer are declared as hazardous material, handled with extreme precaution, yet become the only cure for cancer when given to people as medicine.
It's the same thing with vaccines. You make healthy people, you make them sick. How can you believe such a thing?
In the 1800s, society sanctioned both approaches to healing. Patients had a choice of using either doctors, called allopaths, or natural healers, called empirics or homeopaths. The 2 groups waged a bitter philosophical debate. The allopathic doctors called their approach heroic medicine. They believed the physician must aggressively drive disease from the body. They based their practice on what they considered scientific theory. The allopaths used 3 main techniques. They bled the body to drain out the bad humors. They gave huge doses of toxic minerals like mercury and lead to displace the original disease. They also used surgery, but it was a brutal procedure before anesthesia and infection control. Few patients were willing to have surgery. Most patients feared allopathic methods altogether. Satirists of the day remarked that with allopathic treatment, the patient died of the cure. Competing with the doctors were the empiric healers. Contrary to the doctors, they believed in stimulating the body's own defenses to heal itself. Instead of poisonous minerals, they used vegetable products and non-toxic substances in small quantities. They especially favored herbs learned from Native American and old European traditions. The empirics said they based their remedies not on theory, but on observation and experience. Satirists of the day added that with empiric treatment, the patient died of the disease, not the cure. In the 1800s, doctors tried to stop the popular empirics from collecting their fees by denouncing them as quacks. Economic competition from the empiric healers caused the doctors to found the American Medical Association. But the AMA was a small trade association without political clout, and the balance of medical power remained equal until the turn of the century. Then, new medical treatments emerged that were potentially very profitable. Promoting these methods, the AMA joined with strong financial forces to transform medicine into an industry. The fortunes of Carnegie, Morgan, and Rockefeller financed surgery, radiation, and synthetic drugs. They were to become the economic foundations of the new medical economy. Ironically, John D. Rockefeller himself used only an empiric homeopath while investing in allopathic medicine. Surgery became viable with anesthesia and infection control, and doctors advocated expensive, radical operations. These in turn produced the need for a large, lucrative hospital system. The allopaths also discovered a new toxic mineral, radium. Radium fever swept medicine. The price of radium rose 1,000% almost overnight. Another costly technological industry entered the hospital system. A drug industry grew out of the booming patent medicine business. Ironically, many of the new synthetic drugs came from plants and empiric remedies. Drug company ads boosted the revenues of the AMA journal 500% in 10 years. The doctors changed educational standards and licensing regulations to exclude the empirics. Soon, only AMA-approved doctors could legally practice medicine. In a brief 20 years, the AMA came to dominate medical practice. Organized Medicine launched a media campaign to associate the empirics with quacks. The code word for competition was quackery. By the 1940s, its quack files had swelled to include 300,000 names. The Fitzgerald Report to Congress named at least a dozen other promising cancer treatments seemingly blocked by organized medicine. Their proponents were mostly doctors and scientists of high reputation. The treatments were immunological or nutritional. Dismissing them as quackery were panels of surgeons and radiation therapists. The congressional report emphasized two outstanding cases of alleged suppression, Harry Hoxsey and Dr. Andrew C. Ivy. If Hoxsey fit the image of a quack, Dr. Ivy certainly did not. The similarity of Dr. Ivy's charges to those of Hoxsey was unmistakable. A failed attempt by an AMA official to buy his formulas, followed by blackballing and a refusal to test the therapy. The Fitzgerald Report to Congress described a menacing pattern.
Fitzgerald concluded in his report, quote, "Behind this is the weirdest conglomeration of corrupt motives, intrigue, selfishness, jealousy, obstruction, and conspiracy that I have ever seen."
Despite its shocking conclusions, the Fitzgerald Report slipped quietly into the appendix of the congressional record. With Dr. Ivy's death, chrobiacin would vanish untested. At the height of the McCarthy era, a dozen other promising treatments would be banned without investigation.
Hello, my name is Bert Seelman. I'm 62 years old, and I've been working for over 37 years in the natural health and human performance field. I've worked with many different types of people, all types of diseases, from the least to the worst, and seen many miraculous things happen according to what most people would actually say are not possible at all. I want to talk to you about our misguided perceptions of the medical field, and the truth behind what doctors are practicing and what they are not practicing. They're not talking about the health that we think of today. They were at one time, but today this has been lost. I'm talking about the health that comes from total restoration, realizing that every 4 days we have a new stomach lining. Every 28 days we build a new layer of skin. Every 16 to 18 months our body is brand new to every cell. Think about how what we put in our mouths can change who we become as this time period changes. If we're going to eat ho-hos and ding-dongs, we're obviously going to become ho-hos and ding-dongs. What I'm talking about today is intent. What is the truth behind what people really are doing and what they have sworn an oath to do and what they are not doing? What I'm talking about today is not just the standard of care for doctors, but about the ignorance of people who think that all of these practitioners are about this person's health who walks in the door. This is not true. What I'm going to show you today, I have talked with many attorneys on. I'm about to show you that by law, most doctors and physicians today are not practicing according to their oath, and that they are doing things that are not only against their oath, but are actually crimes against humanity. I'm talking heinous, cruel, and unusual things that should not be done. Do not take me wrong. I'm saying that there are many doctors out there who wish to make things right for people, who have the right intent, but there are also more professionals out there who are not doing what they actually swore an oath to do. So I want you to consider the things I'm about to show you. You all know that they took what's called the Hippocratic Oath. Hippocrates said many years ago, "Let thy food be medicine, and thy medicine be thy food." Yes, we can change who we are, no matter whether it's cancer, or hepatitis C, or HIV. These things can all be arrested, they can all be stopped, and they can all be reversed because our body is a renewable resource. Yes, a new stomach lining every 4 days, a new layer of skin every 28, and that's right, a new body every 16 to 18 months. I've seen it happen. I want you to know today what the truth says. I'm first going to talk to you and show you the original Hippocratic Oath that was used up until 1964, and it was translated from the Greek. And for time's sake, I'm going to cut right to the chase. The old classical oath of the Hippocratic Oath for doctors said in the 3rd paragraph, "I will apply dietetic measures for the benefit of the sick according to my ability and judgment. I will keep them from harm and injustice." Please note, I will apply dietetic measures. Where does your doctor today able to tell you, or where has he practiced with you, finding out what you're eating, how to prevent the diseases from happening? You go to this man for a cure, but yet he doesn't tell you anything on how to prevent it. Could it be because it makes him money? Or more importantly, could it be because a big pharma taught him how to practice medicine, and maybe he was duped? I want you to look at the next paragraph. "I will neither give a deadly drug to anyone who asked for it, nor will I make a suggestion to this effect." Notice that they have sworn an oath that they will help you with dietetic measures and that they will help you to get well, that they will not even suggest a drug or anything that can cause harm. Yet pharmaceuticals all have more side effects and the risk of greater problems than the things that they actually work with. We all know that when it comes to pharmaceuticals, there is no such thing as a cure. Your body has not been restored with what has broken down. The pharmaceutical products that you see today only eliminate the symptom. They only eliminate the symptom and mask the severity of the problem that you have. They do not do anything to restore. You will notice in every case when a person starts on a medication that as time progresses, they need more and more medications. Eventually, the side effects are so great and the symptoms become so numerous that you cannot determine which one has originated from the other. I want you to show yourself by going out and finding this old original Hippocratic Oath, what it says in the 3rd and 4th paragraphs. Now I want you to look at the new Hippocratic Oath. The new Hippocratic Oath has many changes. I want to bring up a point. It was changed in 1964 by a man named Luis Lasagna at Tufts University. Mr. Lasagna also became one of the heads of the Food and Drug Administration after being in the American Medical Association. Could this be due to their certain influences and pressures for money or for position or for power? I want you to notice something that it says very carefully. It says in the fourth paragraph, I will remember that there is art to medicine as well as science, that warmth, sympathy, and understanding may outweigh the surgeon's knife and the chemist's drug. You'll notice that the chemist's drug has now been put in. Where did this come from and why? Could this have been something from Big Pharma? Look at the next paragraph. I will not be ashamed to say I know not, nor will I fail to call in my colleagues when the skills of another are needed for a patient's recovery. Recovery, or recovery for him to do another service that could cost you something more? I want you to look farther into this. It says that I will respect the privacy of my patients, for their problems are not disclosed to me that the world may know. But please follow. Most especially must I tread with care in matters of life and death. If it is given to me to save a life, all thanks. Well, of course, we would all be wonderful people, and we would want to help people and save a life. But notice what continues. But it may also be within my power to take a life. Whoa. Within my power to take a life. You're going to a man, and you're going to sign a release, and he has the power to take your life. I want you to think about this. This awesome responsibility must be faced with great humbleness and awareness of my own frailty. What? He's afraid that someone will come back and kill him? Or maybe take his life? But the next point is absolutely ludicrous. It is absolutely insanity. Above all, I must not play at God. He can give a life or he can take it, and he's not playing God. This is hypocrisy in itself. But go on. It goes down farther to say, I will prevent disease whenever I can, for prevention is preferable to cure. Now I want to ask you, cancer cannot be cured until you go back and help the self-cleaning mechanism of the cell. We've done this with too many people. I've seen it done with many healthcare practitioners. There is an actual restoration that can happen with your body because it is a renewable resource. But where are they talking about prevention? There is no prevention. In fact, Big Pharma has gone on TV today to actually sell you the drug so that you go to your doctor after hearing it on the TV and demand that you get it. But do you know the long-term side effects? Remember, once you start on a pharmaceutical, it is only masking or stopping the actual symptom. The disease itself is progressing. Shouldn't we go back and restore the body from whence it came? Shouldn't we go back to nutrition and start to do what we need to do? If you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always gotten. I want you to notice they say, I will prevent disease. This is an oath, a solemn vow. By law, they are breaking their own oath. This is a crime against humanity. I say that such people who commit these crimes should be charged with crimes against humanity. I believe that these people are nothing more than modern paid terrorists who have licensed themselves and their organizations to put them above what we know as common sense. I'm asking you to consider these things that these doctors do. By their own admission, they are not doing what they have sworn to do. The old oath, as it says here, I will apply dietetic measures for the benefit of the sick. I will neither give a deadly drug to anyone who asks for it, nor will I suggest this effect. Make a suggestion to this effect, excuse me. Please, who is the hypocrite here? But more importantly, who's stupid? We see healing done all the time through many healthcare practitioners. I say, take your health into your own hands. That going to a doctor is a big possibility for you actually signing your life away. Is it about your health or is it about his money? I want you to stop and look at these things. Your health is important, and so are your loved ones. Thank you.